Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing well. In today's session, we are going to discuss a very important question from block 2, that is study of Spenser, that is comparison of epithalamion and prothalamion as wedding songs. Now both the poems are written by Edmund Spenser and it is very important for your upcoming term and examination. Now before we go for the comparison as epithalamion and prothalamion as wedding songs, I highly recommend those of you who have not watched the summary of these two particular poems that I have covered, please go ahead and check the channel's playlist. You will definitely find in detailed manner I have covered both the poems, and once you watch the summary of those two poems, you come back here so that you understand properly the comparison. Now both epithalamion and prothalamion are wedding songs, but they come from different literary traditions and serve different purposes. How? For that reason, let us start by comparing both of them, and let's start by the definition of epithalamion and prothalamion. Now let's start with epithalamion. An epithalamion is a poem written specifically for a wedding celebration, often intended to bless the marriage and evoke feelings of joy, love and fertility. Now if you remember well, when I was discussing epithalamion, I discussed that epithalamion was a poem as written as a tribute by Edmund Spenser to his wife Elizabeth Boyle. Alright, so epithalamion in itself celebrates a marriage. And whereas prothalamion, if you see the definition, a prothalamion is also a poem written for a wedding, but it differs from epithalamion. How? It differs that in that it typically focuses on the events leading to the wedding rather than the ceremony itself. Alright. So we have understood that epithalamion is a poem written to celebrate the poem, and prothalamion is a wedding song which is written in a manner to discuss the events leading to a wedding. Okay, now Edmund Spenser's epithalamion is one of the most famous examples. It is a lengthy poem celebrating his marriage to Elizabeth Boyle. Now remember this, when we talk about epithalamion, it's a type of poem which celebrates the wedding in itself, and it's a poem written by Edmund Spenser as a tribute to his marriage with Elizabeth Boyle. However, in case of prothalamion, Edmund Spenser's prothalamion is a notable example of how to celebrate the events leading to a marriage. Okay, it was written to celebrate a double wedding of two noble women, that is Catherine and Elizabeth Somerset. Now let us talk about the characteristics of both the categories of poem. Now epithalmia are typically lyrical, celebratory and filled with vivid imagery. They often employ elaborate metaphors and symbols to convey the significance of the occasion. Now please understand that epithalamian type of poems are written to celebrate the wedding, so obviously there has to be a lot of elaborated metaphors and symbols to convey the celebration, okay, to convey the love, the tribute that the poet is giving to celebrate his love and the success of the marriage. Now, in case of prothalamion, if we see the characteristics, prothalmia often depicts scenes of preparation, anticipation, and festivities leading up to the wedding day. Now, there is a stark difference between both the categories. In case of prothalmia, they may include blessings for the couples and the expressions of hope for their future together. Now, if in simple words I have to explain the characteristics of both the categories of poem, that is epithalmia and prothalmia, you will see that in case of epithalmia, the poem in itself is celebrating the love, the wedding. However, in case of prothalmia, the focus is being transferred to the events leading up to the wedding rather than celebrating the love between the couples. In other words, both epithalmia and prothalmia celebrate weddings, but they do so from different perspectives. Now, I've already mentioned the perspectives, what it is, that in case of epithalmia, we are celebrating the wedding in itself. However, we know that in case of epithalmia, the poem was written by Edmund Spenser as a tribute for his love to Elizabeth Boyle. However, in case of prothalmia, it is a wedding celebration. However, the events were discussed more, and the wedding was of two noble women, that is Catherine and Elizabeth Somerset. Now, in case of epithalmia, it focuses on the ceremony itself, as I already mentioned, and prothalmia focuses on the events leading up to the wedding. Epithalmia tend to be more introspective, exploring themes of love, commitment, and union of souls, whereas prothalmia are often more outwardly celebrated, capturing the excitement and anticipation surrounding the upcoming nuptials. Now, let me come to this prothalmia first of all. Imagine a situation where arranged marriage is going to happen. All right, I'm just asking you to imagine it. Now, the entire process of having that marriage happening, you will notice that there are a lot of events leading to the celebration. Okay, before we can see the expressions or the anticipation of the couple in itself, we will see that lot of things are happening before the marriage, and that leads to the excitement of the people in the family, right? So prothalmia devotes itself to celebrate those events. However, epithalmia is a poem which is celebrating the marriage in itself. Okay, the groom and the wife discuss their celebration, and they celebrate their love, the success of their love. Now let us talk about the tone and mood in case of both the poems. In case of epithalamion, the tone is usually more solemn and reverent, reflecting the sacredness of the marriage ceremony. The mood tends to be romantic, joyous, and sometimes even ecstatic, as it celebrates the culmination of love and the beginning of new life together. If you remember, when I was discussing the summary of epithalamion, I told you that how desperate and Bud Spencer was in order to make the marriage happen sooner. All right, so there is lot of excitement, there is lot of ecstatic, and there is lot of romance involved in this particular category. In the tone of this particular poem involves lot of romance. Okay, and it also reflects the sacredness of the marriage ceremony as well, because all the procedures were followed, and it was a very beautiful scenario if you remember the summary of this particular poem. However, in case of prothalmion, in contrast, the tone of prothalmion is often lighter and more festive. As I told you that in case of prothalmion, the events leading to the marriage are celebrated more, so the sound of festivity or the tone and the mood is more festive. It captures the excitement and merriment of the pre-wedding celebrations, including feasting, dancing, and other festives. Now if you see in our culture as well, now before marriage lot of things happens, like sangeet and pre-wedding celebration happens, where a lot of feasting is done, a lot of dancing is done. So prothalmion celebrates the events leading to the wedding. Okay, the mood is one of the anticipation and jubilation, okay, as friends and family gather to rejoice in the forthcoming union. Now let us talk about the narrative structure of both the categories of poems. In case of epithalmia, you will notice that it follows more structured narrative, often tracing the progression of the wedding ceremony itself, from the preparations to the exchange of vows and the consummation of the marriage. Now with these two categories, that is the vows taken and the consummation of the marriage, you will notice the difference between both the categories, because these two aspects are not in particular discussed in case of prothalmia. Now, in case of epithalmia, it also includes reflections on the significance of the marriage and the eternal bond between the couple. Now, more emphasis is given between the love between the couple and how to celebrate the entire union of this two person. All right. However, in case of prothalmia, on the other hand, you will notice a looser narrative structure, as they focus more on capturing the atmosphere and the festivities surrounding the wedding rather than depicting the specific events. Now, as we have discussed a specific event in case of epithalmia, that is the wedding in itself, in case of prothalmia, we discuss more about what is going on around the wedding, okay, the festivities that is being done, the atmosphere, how people are reacting, what are the different comparisons that has been made. Okay, so these are the things which is done in this category of poem, and this is the narrative structure of this particular poem. Now they may include description of the bridal party, the decorations, and the general sense of the excitement in the air. Now both the categories of poems have different set of audience, and it has serves a different set of purpose. Now in case of epithalmia are often intended for private or intimate settings, such as recitations at the wedding ceremony itself or readings at the reception. Now they are meant to evoke deep emotions and sentiments within a couple and their loved ones, reaffirming the significance of the marital bond. Now if you talk about the specific purpose of this particular type of poem and the audience that it targets, it obviously targets those people who are celebrating the marriage in itself, okay, who are concerned about their vows that has to be taken, because right words has to be spoken out when you're getting married with someone. Now obviously it is quite indifferent to us because we don't do that, but in case of Christian marriages, if you notice that in case of Christian marriages there is vows taken, okay, both the boy and the girl narrate some set of words committing themselves to each other, and that is being affirmed by a priest. So this is the target audience, like people who are concerned about each other for spending the rest of the life together and celebrating their love through marriage. That is the audience that is being targeted by epithalmia. In case of prothalmia, on the other hand, it is more public or communal purpose. They are often written to be performed or recited at public events leading up to a wedding, such as banquets or processions, where they serve to entertain and uplift the spirits of the attendees. Now, if you see in case of marriages, if you see particularly in our cases, in case of mostly arranged marriage, you will see that the relatives and the people around are more excited than the couple in itself, right? So prothalmia actually targets all the category of people. It has a wider audience compared to epithalmia. Now, obviously, whenever you attempt a essay type question, it is very important to summarize your answer. So, in summary, you can write that while both epithalmian and prothalmian are wedding songs that celebrate the union of two individuals in marriage, they differ in their focus, tone, and narrative structure, and intended audience, of course. Each type of poem offers its own unique perspective on the joyous occasion, capturing different aspects of the wedding festivities and the emotions surrounding them. So this is the video, guys. I hope you had a clarity now about the comparison between epithalmian and prothalmian as wedding songs. I have tried to categorize the entire answer into subcategories like audience and purpose, tone and mood, narrative structures, the difference in itself, and the similarity, of course, as both the poems eventually celebrate wedding celebrations of couples. But yes, there are some lot of differences, not some, of course, there are a lot of differences. I've tried to cover most of it, but in case you have any other trouble understanding any part of this video, do feel free to comment in the comment section. I'll definitely try to address it in the next video. And if you have any recommendations for our upcoming videos, do feel free to comment. Yes, those of you watching this video for the first time, please let me tell you that we are covering a series of videos covering all the important topics that will be important for your upcoming term and examination case of British poetry. So do feel free to join us in this journey and do give your valuable suggestions in the comments. I definitely read it and I love reading your comments. Till we meet next time, God bless you and thank you all.